Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my weekly meltdowns, super in-depth coverage of Survivor 46,
Mm-hmm.
episode 7, part 2 of the
I'm
half
sorry, it's
merge, but not
episode
really
several.
merge.
Episode several.
Thank you. Thank you for passing on the legacy that is Jelensky, the
Zelensky.
first boot. Just for full context here, Allison is MIA for the moment, and that's okay. We love her.
She's not missing in action. She has other things to attend to
No,
right now.
she's not missing as if like I put her in a cab in New Orleans by herself and said, "See ya."
I'll get
Not like
therapy.
that. No. I will get therapy if she does pass away or if she's sold into trafficking of some kind, but that's not going to happen. But no, she's taking the night off, so it's just me and Beth. And here's the thing, y'all. I went to happy hour with a friend of mine before the show, and I had a few margaritas. So it is what it is. We're gonna talk Survivor for a little bit. Probably a little more than like because I will admit it was a good episode.
It was a good episode. We had some stuff to happen.
Good episode. Yeah.
Somebody timestamp that. 1 minute and 16 seconds.
Okay. So yeah, we have some things to talk about, but I will say, okay, so like everybody on Twitter that's like, oh my god, it was like the best episode of the season so far. It was so good. Well, first of all, yes, like I agree with that, but also that's also saying like I just jumped over a bar that was like literally on the floor.
I tripped over a bar.
Right.
I didn't even actually lift my leg up. I kind of shuffled my feet and fell over it. So I will say, like, y'all know that I'm a big new era Survivor defender. I will say there have been at least 1 or 2 other episodes this season that I've been like involved. Like, yes, this is a good episode. This was definitely one of the best ones. And controversial hot take, I actually don't mind the like, hey, 2 tribal councils, 1 person's not going to make the jury thing. I know that's really controversial because I think a lot of people are like, that really sucks. Like, you make the merge, but you don't make the jury, or like you just happen to have to be in that one group that goes. And I'm like, you know what? You had every single chance to get immunity just like everybody else. The rules were placed out ahead of time. It's not like they slapped you across the face like after the challenge. If that were the point, I'd be so upset. But Jeff lays it right out, and everybody knows what's at stake.
No, I totally agree. I mean, like that's not a modern Survivor thing too, right? Like people leaving in like their merge, but not like in the jury. Like even the best season of all time, Heroes versus Villains, Coach gets voted out at the merge, but he does make the jury.
He's on the jury?
It's Courtney, right? Or
Courtney's maybe on the jury.
Courtney's on the jury too. Hold on, there is somebody that made the merge that is not on the jury.
It's not a villain though, right? It's a hero. I thought it was a hero.
For myself. Is it JT? No, JT's on the jury.
Isn't it Tom?
Good God. I wish it was Tom. I love Tom.
Controversial opinion. I wish that Tom had been on Survivor Winners at War instead of Ben.
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. I'm so sorry. So Coach and Courtney were on the jury, but they were not in the merge. So, like, they did the opposite. Okay. So, point? So blanket statement, revise everything I just said. Blanket statement. It don't matter if the merge is here or not. Like they're just gonna do whatever the fuck they want with the jury. And you're right, Beth. Like Tim had every opportunity to do better in the challenge, to do better in the game of Survivor. Which, like, honestly, Beth, like I'm glad that Tim is gone from this game because he was so damn bad at this game, and I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it because of like modern Survivor, like. We're all friends and like big friendship circle. Like Tim was just bad at Survivor. Every single episode, I'm like, not good. The
last 2 episodes, this last night's episode as well as last week's, were not Tim's best showing of strategic prowess. And I think here's the thing, like he unfortunately got to a place where he felt too comfortable. And if you ever feel like you have way more relationships and that you were openly telling people that, that's a sign that you're probably going to be blindsided.
Yeah.
And so I think that he's obviously a lovely person. And I want to wish him well. I loved the little shout out moment.
Of course. Like anything we say here is like always like in context of like the game and like the character they presented to us. I'm sure he's a lovely person outside of
course. But that said, and you know what I also love? I love the confidence that man had when he said, I'm still the sexiest dad to ever play this game. Because I was like, that's fucking right. You should always think of yourself as the sexiest blah, 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 blah to ever do whatever, you know?
Can we do like a tier list ranking for like Patreon exclusive of like the actual sexiest dads in Survivor? I'd be curious to see like
the way he said the actual sexiest.
I mean, I'm sure Tim is somebody's cup of tea, but I think we can find a better better.
I know that didn't mean to be. I know that didn't mean to be shady, but my God, that was amazing. I have to put lotion on because that just dried my fucking skin out. That comment. Woo! For sure. I think that would be fun. Survivor Daddies.
Yeah.
Survivor Daddies. Let's do it. I definitely think, Tim doesn't read the writing on the wall, doesn't understand like the cues that he's getting from Q. And especially, and I think that quite frankly, I think that Q is the next one to not understand the signals. Like he was absolutely correct in all of his moves today. But I think Q's got to be watching his back now.
Yeah, we definitely saw that in the preview too. Like Q is looking like he's like having some kind of confrontation with Tiffany.
And we saw in the very beginning of this episode that Charlie wants him out. Now, Charlie didn't get to have the opportunity to really orchestrate anything because he was on the other tribe for this vote. Yeah. But my God, I think that you're seeing Tiffany and Kenzie realizing Q may not be actually a big advantage for us moving forward because he doesn't see us as equals. I think Tiffany's going to move more to Kenzie. I think that Kenzie is playing a really good social game with other people. We see this really human, wonderful connection. Can we talk about the Ben panic attack for a second?
Yeah.
I've had that many, many times where I wake up and I'm panicking and I can't breathe and all that kind of stuff. I can't imagine. I can imagine, actually, complete opposite of what I was going to say. I want y'all to know if I'm ever on Survivor, that's me every night. There's going to be so much footage of Beth has another panic attack on Survivor. Jeff's going to be like, Beth, tell me what it's like to wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to be like, Jeff, it's awful. But, I really felt for Ben in that moment. And I'm really, really thankful that we have really good people who play this game, right? Because it doesn't matter. Like, all that is said, I think we still need to point out that Kenzie had some microaggressions and such against Jess and Banu. I'm not sitting here absolving her of every single thing that she, Tiffany, and Q put Jess especially through. But I also want to say that, like, just because people have implicit biases or those kind of things, those are things that we need to check and be aware of, but they don't automatically make you 100% just a horrible person. And being there for somebody who's going through something, I think, is really great. And I do think that moments like that, they're not game related, but it does make you feel bonded in a way that you might want to open up strategically to somebody else.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, it's like, for sure, like both things can be true, right? Like it's not Kenzie saying like like this is my way to like get his jury vote. Like she can like be like a genuine good person to Ben in that moment, but like doesn't hurt her game either, wink,
for
wink.
Sure.
And that's kind of how I saw it. And like it's so interesting to me that like Tiffany and Q seem like they're kind of like butting heads like later next week, because I think that's like the perfect timing for Kenzie to like emerge as like the ultimate like number one like winner candidate for this season, right? Because I would have guessed that like come like the merge, like Tiffany and Q would be together and like Kenzie's like kind of on the outs of that.
Yeah.
So the fact that like this situation is kind of being presented to Kenzie, and if anything, like Kenzie could always back up on like Q is like a great like merge like immunity challenge threat too.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think like if Charlie's thinking about it, then Maria's probably thinking about it too. So I wouldn't be surprised if Q is the next one voted out next week.
I think that there's a lot of possibility for that. And to be quite frank with you, I'm actually really kind of curious about I feel like for as much power as this trio has, I feel like Tiffany's very under edited since we got to the merge. The focus has really been on Q and Kenzie. And that is scaring me for Tiffany's game. Because you come into the situation and Tiffany was the linchpin. She was the person who was really close with Q, and she was the person who was really close with Kenzie. Kenzie and Q didn't have the relationship that Tiffany has with both of them. So it makes you kind of wonder, like, does Tiffany get screwed over? Do they try to go for Q, but because Q has these other numbers next to him? I mean, Hunter and Q are definitely working together. Hunter's got people on Nami. I think that, with Tim being voted out, I think Maria's going to be more hesitant to work with them. But at this point, Siga, Tim's gone, and who was the other? And so was Nami. So like you had one of each go. I think those tribes are going to be looking at, okay, it's about time we look back at Yanu here, and I could absolutely see, Tiffany misplaying an idol or something like that, and like she plays it for Q, but the votes were on her and she goes, or something like that. Like I'm kind of envisioning that there's a situation where she has the right reads, but the wrong execution, or vice versa.
Yeah, and you also have to remember, like, Q had that, like, bro, like, alliance during, like, the summit as well. So that could be, like, a reach for him next week if it does come down to, like, Tiffany versus Q. I don't know. I see Q winning that battle, unfortunately. Like, I
do
agree
too.
With you that.
I think that, I think we also forget that Q is also from Mississippi, or Louisiana, which one of the two that is. It's one of those two southern deep south states that he and Hunter, they're from the same state. And so I do think that, when you get into situations when you're not from a state that is like one of the most populous in the United States, that you always expect that you're going to have a couple of people from the Northeast or from California or from Chicago or from Florida or something like that. But if you're from a less populated state that has very strong affinity to it in some capacity, that does bond you with those people. And so I do think that Hunter and Q are two people who are very well bonded because of their hometown and are also in that Summit Alliance. And then you've got, they voted out Tim. So Maria probably not going to join them, but they don't really need that. You got Tevin, Hunter, and then the 3 Yanu. That's 5. That's as many votes as you really need moving forward as a block. And I think that's a better number than 6, actually. It's a stronger number.
Sure.
But
so say like okay, so like we're on this this train that's like headed towards like Kenzie being the winner of the season, right? Like, how would you rank Kenzie as like a winner thus far of like?
So you think Kenzie's gonna win?
I think so.
I
think I'm ready to call it. I think I'm ready to call it, Beth. Like, I think I'm ready to call it that, like, Kenzie, just based on like edit alone. And it's a risky statement because like a lot of it has been circumstantial to like her tribe just like sucking, like in the pre-merge. And so like all of that edit is like contextual to like them losing, therefore them getting more airtime. But like even in this merge, like Kenzie has really emerged as this really fluid, strong, confident player. Like all of her confessionals have been like, I'm feeling really good about my placement. I'm feeling really good about like the power that, like, I feel like she's always talking about her being on this like upward trajectory through the rest of the game in a like I deserve it type of way, but not in a like selfish I deserve it, in a like genuine like I'm doing a great job and I have really overcome a lot thus far.
She's very Leo. She's my Leo queen. She's a lioness.
She's a Leo?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
I definitely feel like I called her as the winner before the season, and then I started watching the beginning of this and I was like, oh, Jem. I think Jem's going to be the winner. And for me, I've always have feelings with people, right? I have a feeling that I know that Kylan brought this up about Soda, if this was the correct move for Tevin's game, but we'll get to that in a second. I felt like just based off of previews alone, there were going to be 3, maybe 4 major characters. And those 3 characters were Tevin, Kenzie, and Venus. Okay? I could see any of them going to the end. And that 4th person that I have now after watching the first half of the game, Charlie. Those are the 4 people who I feel like are being edited to either be the person who goes out at fire, the person who wins, the runner up, or somebody who makes it to like just before
like
the
the
last
robbed
episode.
goddess. Yeah.
Yes. Not even 5th place, which is, you know, I always feel like the 5th place person is very under edited.
No, but like Venus is very much so, like her edit is so like Kelly Wentworth second chances coded. It is crazy. Like like any like a newbie to Edgic would like see Venus's edit and be like, this girl's the winner. Like she's like the underdog of the century.
I don't think she's
but like it feels so it feels too good to be true. Like it feels like David Wright in Millennials versus Gen X, like that kind of edit.
It's still not lost on me that Tevin got to have this really amazing, like Tevin is the Carolyn of this season for me, in the sense that Carolyn had this very authentic, like behind the scenes moment as they open up the first episode where she's going, so like, do I talk now? And they're like, yeah. And she's like, ah, and she like freaks out, right? We have a very similar but very different approach with Tevin, where we have this beautiful monologue about entering the game of Survivor from Tevin that opens up the entire season. You don't do that unless that's a character who's going to stick around until the very end. And even though it's a beautiful statement, and I'm sure that there were other people who provided just as incredible statements, that to me was very poignant. And I think that points that if he's like Carolyn, then he's a 0 vote finalist at the end. So who does that leave? I could see Charlie and I could see Kenzie. And what an amazing final 3 to have one from every tribe there at the final 3. That to me is really cool. So I'm just putting it out there that I absolutely think that based off of the previews and now what we've seen, those are the 4 I could see being very, very influential in terms of storyline. And as we switch to kind of talking about Soda a little bit now, I've felt like from the very first episode, Soda was a supporting character to either Tevin or Venus in their storylines. It was never about Soda. It was always about Soda's impact on Venus, Soda's impact on Tevin. And even though she got the confessionals, it wasn't about people supporting her game. It was always about Soda's making me nervous, so therefore I've got to do this. Soda is taking away the idol from me. Soda is making me feel this way. And those are the overarching themes. So I unfortunately felt like Soda, I could see that she wasn't going to go until the very end.
So before like we get into the Soda, like I want you to answer my question though. Where would Kenzie be?
Oh, sorry.
If she's no, you're good, because like I love this chatter and like everything that we just talked about. I totally agree with. But like for me, like if Kenzie is the winner, like especially after she wins an immunity tonight, right? Like she's not just like a social player, but somebody to like physically consider as like a threat too. And as much as Q says, "Oh, I threw that immunity challenge," I call bullshit on that. I hate when people like after the fact they're like, I totally threw that. I don't agree with that.
I'm going to disagree, because I think Q is the type of person who is like, when he knows that he's doing poorly, he beats himself up and then he's like, I'm ready to quit the game. And this time he didn't. And I genuinely think, whether or not he genuinely meant it in the moment, I think he convinced himself. Oh, yeah. Well, clearly I wasn't in it because I was trying to make this happen. So I would say that Q's the type of person that if he genuinely failed at it, he would be beating himself up. But
no, that's fair. That's fair.
But I also feel like, I guess the other thing to consider was that was when there were other people who were like, whether or not you went to tribal road on it, it doesn't matter. You're still going to go to tribal no matter what. So I guess like I guess it's more feasible that he definitely threw it and was just trying to cover it up. But
yeah. So like if Kenzie is the winner though, like I feel like I would at this point, like of course like there's still a lot of game to be played, right? But like I feel like I would slot her like right under D as like in terms of like the modern Survivor winners.
If we're talking So is D your top?
Yes.
So,
And it's a pretty far
so
reach
it's
before like the next
D,
person.
and then say that Kenzie wins, then it's Kenzie is number 2.
Yeah.
And then between Erica, Marianne, Gabler, Jam Jam, where are they?
I would probably say Marianne next.
Okay.
And then after that, I would say Jam Jam. And then I would say Erica and then Gabler.
I would say for me, D is so clearly the top winner, like you said.
Yeah.
I would say I'm a very big Jam Jam defender. I think that Jam Jam's number 2 for me. And then Kenzie and Marianne would be very close. But I think that Kenzie has had more agency in a way that Marianne hasn't.
Yeah.
So I have to give her that. And I don't know if I want to go back and do revisionist history or whatever, but there is a part of me that's like, I need to watch season 41 and 43 again because I am not that big on Erica's game. And I love Erica and I love that Erica won. I'm not going to, let's say that. Okay. But I don't think of her as being like one of the best winners of all time. I would put I would put her very low on the list. And I think I got to give Gabler a little bit more props than like I did at the time. But I also don't like think that he played amazing. I think that I think it was a bitter jury, which at the end of the day, that's something you have to accommodate for if you're going to the end.
Yeah.
And the other people didn't. And Gabler knew exactly how to do that. And I think that edges him above Erica in my opinion.
I agree. And like so I of course, like when you're ranking winners, like I always feel like there's like a tier of like asterisk winners in terms of like they won because of like this like weird ass thing that happened, right? And like of course with Erica, like that like the hourglass like totally changed like everything that season.
But there's also other people who had one big advantage, and that's the reason why they won. And those are asterisk people. So I'm sorry, we're going to talk about the Bens of the world who got essentially idols handed to them. We're going to talk about the Chris's of the world who got to, you know, come into the game with an idol in his pocket at Final 5 after sitting on an island for the whole time and then put himself into fire because he had literally nothing to lose at that point. He's already been on the island.
But those are great examples. Like those are also like asterisk winners to me. And like I would slot Erica above those asterisk winners.
And that's the thing that I'm saying is that those are still people who were like, you can hate production for it, but those people took advantage of the game and they won, right? And so with Gabler's a person where like if you think of other winners who maybe won because of a sour jury, and I am going to go ahead and say that Natalie White is one of those people because people didn't want to vote for Russell. And you know what? Sure. I'll love her for it. I love Natalie White for that.
She still deserved it, but that doesn't mean it's not true.
But that doesn't mean it's not true. There are people who won the game that we could absolutely say, guess what? You were the right person to go to the end because people underestimated you and you knew that. And that's how you were able to play your game to get there. And you knew people were going to be bitter and you knew how to talk at tribal council. Final tribal. Give her the money. And I feel like Gabler is one of those people too. And I don't understand, you know, I understand from a personal standpoint, a lot of us don't agree with Gabler. As a person and with political beliefs, I should say. But I'm not going to sit back and pretend like when we're talking strictly strategy and that kind of thing, you have to take into consideration what the jury is going to think. That is the entire point of Survivor. So when we think about those rankings, I would probably say Kenzie's number 3 for me. I like Jam Jam's game a lot more. And I feel like there were so many ups and downs. I see a lot of similarities between Kenzie and Jam Jam, but I felt like Jam Jam, Carolyn, and Carson were more dysfunctional than these 3, which is really saying something. And I know I said that a couple weeks ago. And I feel like Kenzie has more social outs than Jam Jam did. And I think that Jam Jam was impressive because his back was against the wall a lot of the time. Kenzie's doesn't have her back against the wall. And a lot of that's because she's been able to manipulate it, so she's not.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Wait, sorry. Like, since we're on like winners, like rankings discussion, like I just want to like, just for the record, nobody's listening. Like, it's fine. We're all God's children. I want to
All
hear
God's
like your
children.
I want to hear like your top 5 winners. Like who do you think are like the best winners of Survivor history?
Mm, I okay, so this changes for me quite often.
Sure.
I think Dee is definitely one of my top 5 winners of all time. I think that she just dominated the game from beginning to end. Um, on her first time out, without any gimmies, she did the damn fucking thing. And I'm still so impressed with her months later.
Yeah.
I think she's literally one of my favorite winners of all time. I am also I I know it's I don't like the season, but I love the winner, and that's Natalie. I love Natalie as a winner for San Juan del Sur. She was one of the few. I just think it's such an incredible story. Her twin is the first one out, and she's the winner. Like
Mhm.
incredible. And I think that she was somebody who just had so much social acuity in that game and agency, and was a physical threat and strategic. And she knew how to play people like puppets, and she did. And she dominated. So she's somebody to me that's really impressive. Um, I gotta give my props to Sophie. I love Sophie as a winner. I don't necessarily like South Pacific. There's a lot of aspects about it, but we don't talk enough about, like, she's probably besides maybe Erica, the least edited winner of all time. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that this was the Coach and Ozzy show,
Yeah.
in
Right.
the Brandon Hant show. And
Right.
nobody, I mean, people in RHAP and like people who are super fans talk about this, but like in the general casual sense, I don't think a lot of people look at Sophie Clark until Winners at War and go, oh my God, that's a good player.
Yeah.
And she's somebody to me that, like, she acted religious for an entire season and was like in confessionals, like, these aren't real Christians, and calling them
Yeah.
out, and knew exactly how to use that to their advantage. Like, if they had done another villains, heroes kind of season, she should be a villain because she knew exactly how to play people who were being villainous and those who thought that they were being rightful and righteous. And she was, but they were being horrible people, Brandon. And she was able to see through that and go, okay, I know I'm not going to have the agency in an outward, overt sense. So I need to like create these different things behind the scenes. I need to be strategic with Albert. I need to be strategic with Coach. I need to like help all these different aspects. Love her for that. And then I think that when I think of the other two, for a long time I was a big fan of Denise as well. Like talked about her nonstop, and
Sure.
I love the story. It's such an underdog, but like she's not an underdog. It's just like her
Yeah.
situation was underdogish. But the more that I've thought about it in comparison to other winners, like she had so many more opportunities to do things that she didn't take advantage of. So I don't know if I put her in my top 5 anymore. Um, I don't know. I really struggle because I'd have to like really think about it, and my brain's a little foggy right now. But when I think about like my favorite winners, Dee, Sophie, Natalie, those are definitely Natalie and
Yeah. I have a note on my phone that's like always changing of like my definitive ranking of like Big Brother and Survivor winners. My top 5 currently is Kim is number 1,
Oh yeah, yeah, of
of
course.
course. Tom is number 2.
Oh, Tom or Todd?
Tom.
Oh, I love that.
He
No one
played such a dominant game. Like it's
People
fucking
always say
crazy.
Todd, and I like Todd. I watched China recently, and I liked Todd as a winner, and I liked his game.
I
But
have Todd as number 11.
I'm very excited you said Tom. That's really
Yeah.
exciting to me. No one
I
says
mean,
that,
he
and I'm excited about
he
that.
led the decimation of a whole fucking tribe. And then
Exactly.
after that, like he led the decimation of the entire jury. Like he ran that shit. Like he is a male Kim Spradlin. And the fact that
Mhm.
like he could not find any footing in heroes versus villains is only like further proof of like how much of a threat he was because he is such a good solid player. Uh Tom is an amazing Survivor winner from start to finish.
I loved Tom as a little middle schooler, early high schooler watching that. My whole family did. And we liked the fact that he was a leader and he was strong and he didn't
Yeah.
but he was a good guy. He was a firefighter, all that kind of stuff, like all those aspects that brought families together. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then he also kind of acted a little villainously sometimes, and I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Third on my, I'll just do the top 5. Third is Sarah Lucina. Like her gameplay
Oh
and
yeah.
Game Changers was just like
No, I'm with you on that.
phenomenal.
I'm with you on that. She's definitely one of my top 5 as well. She played one of the most dominant games I've ever seen. I would say that D is better because she won her first time out. But very similar kind of games where she could anticipate so many moves ahead and play the twist to the advantage.
That's totally fair. I have D as number 4, like after Sarah, so like pretty interchangeable. But I give Sarah the edge because like it was earlier Survivor, so like the advantages weren't as like meta at that point, if that makes any sense. So like I give her that edge.
Yeah.
And then number 5 is Jeremy Collins. And
how could I forget about Jeremy? Jeremy's definitely in my top 5. Jeremy played just the best effing game. I loved him. Yes. Okay. Sarah and Jeremy round up my top 5 then for sure.
Yeah.
I saw somebody, who was it? Somebody said, Thomas said Ethan. I loved Ethan as a middle schooler, but I'll be honest, I haven't watched Africa in a while. Ethan was my favorite winner for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, he's so damn likable. It's crazy.
He's still so freaking hot.
He is.
I just want to put that out there.
Yeah. Real quick, just because Thomas Cook asks, and then we'll talk about Soda. What's my big brother top 5? So I have Dan as number 1, Kevin Jacobs as number 2, Dr. Will's number 3, but I'm like revisiting and questioning that decision. Like I'm kind of lower on Dr. Will's game recently. Andy, and then Maggie is number 5. So let's talk about Soda, because Kylan did ask us earlier.
I do. Let's just quickly also like hello to Thomas, Kylan, and Sam in the chat. Thank you guys for being here and hanging out. And I also want to congratulate Sam. He said this a while ago. He got his black belt in Taekwondo last night. And that is a huge achievement. And so I just want to wish you all the best with that. That's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's a big accomplishment. All right, so Kylan asks, was Soda the correct move for Tevin's game? Beth, what do you think?
I think we saw the answer immediately, which is that no. Because people, or at least the people who are sitting there currently, know that Tevin really pushed it. But the person who matters, who's the person who got voted out, is going to go to the jury. She immediately went, is this you? Now, here's the thing. Venus she's not stealing credit. She legitimately thinks that she did this move. Period. Right?
Honestly, if she was thinking like, I'm just stealing credit, like, take that credit, girl.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
This isn't an academic paper where you're plagiarizing. This isn't business. This isn't trademarked ideas.
Yeah.
This is Survivor. And I want to say that, first of all, Soda, what a class fucking act. You get voted out and your immediate reaction is to look at the person you've been antagonistic with the entire game. Like you guys have butted heads socially, strategically, didn't matter. And you turn to her and you go, did you do this? And she says, yes. And she has a smile on her face and she doesn't mean it in like a kind of way. And you're able to have a human moment with her and congratulate her in what has to be the most devastating aspect of time in your game. Absolute class act. And I love that Tevin doesn't take the opportunity to explain it, because he is smart enough to know, I got to make sure that everybody else on this tribe knows what's up. So when they get to Ponderosa, they tell the story. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think with the edit that I've seen and what I was saying with Carolyn earlier, I see this as the reason why Tevin does not get a vote at Tribal Council if he's a 0 vote finalist, because he didn't accurately bring in Venus into the conversation. And if he had done that, then he could have been able to say something without looking like blowing up his image at Tribal Council. Instead, he had to sit there quietly and go, no,
I agree, Beth. Like, I feel like it's like to everybody's detriment to their games that they just refuse to work with Venus. Like, we saw that with Maria tonight. We saw this with Tevin. Like, if they just brought and included this poor girl into the plans, and like, of course, I understand it's a TV show. We're probably not seeing everything, and like, there's a reason that she's like a pariah. Like, maybe besides Janelle, maybe like all of that could be true, right? But like, it's still a game. Like, who gives a shit? Like, you can't like. It's like the Abby Maria thing. Like, you can't just like universally exclude somebody from the whole game and then their presence just not taking up the entire space of it all, because it is such a frustrating piece of the puzzle that, like, you know, when you're like putting a puzzle together and like there's that one piece that like will not fit in like fucking anywhere, and you spend so much time like figuring out where that piece goes. Like, that is what they're all doing with Venus right now, and it's driving me bananas, to the point where like Tevin could have like had this whole soda thing go a lot easier, but he chose the hard route. And honestly, I don't even think it was worth it, to be honest.
He chose the hard route because he thought it was going to be because it was hard, it was going to give him more props. And if anything, it just clouded his game much more.
And I also think it's also a case of like, like when one tribe is so lopsidedly going to tribal council every week, and then you have a bunch of players at the merge that are not experienced in terms of voting somebody out, that's a real big disadvantage to have. And I feel like with Tevin like wanting to take out Soda at this time, right? Like, I understand that like if it were like a few rounds later, like it could have been considered a good move. But like at this time, I feel like it was just a case of like he's just so antsy to like really start playing this game, where he's like, yeah, like he literally said in confessional, he was like, I like, it's time for me to make my first blindside, like as if it's like this like checklist thing rather than something that should have a lot of context to it, should have like a lot of sense behind like this can further me in the game. Like, how did Tevin further himself in the game by taking out Soda?
Here's the thing.
Sorry.
No. You ranted beautifully because you just said the absolute truth of it all, and I'm about to sneeze. Hold on.
Go for it. Bless you. You are so blessed.
Thank you. I want to say two things. One, I like that Tyler said go for it, as if I had a choice in whether or not I was going to be able to sneeze. But so thank you for the permission. And number two, thank you for all the blessings. But what you just said is the point that I think the game, when you're in it, is hard to envision, especially when it's something that's televised. It's different than when it's like an org or an LRG that you play that is not going to be shown to millions of people. There's an aspect about this where you have to say, I want my moves shown on TV, right? You have that, and I don't mean it to sound like it's egotistical, but you go on reality TV to be on TV. I'm sorry.
No, and that's a symptom of casting all these super fans, is like they are so aware of that, Beth.
And that's the issue that they're all going to have, because they sit back and they say, I have to have multiple flashy moves in order for people to talk about me, in order for me to have camera time, blah, 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 rather than looking at the game variables and dynamics in front of you and saying, what makes the most sense for me to move forward from a game strategic situation? Soda was not going to flip on him as a person in the game, at least for a while. So I don't think going after Soda made any sort of sense. If he really wanted to, clearly what's so funny to me is the Nami versus Siga thing is in Siga's mind only. Nami couldn't care less about Nami's numbers. They only care about having people that they trust. But then they don't, because they vote out people who trust them. And Nami is playing for flashy moves. Yanu was playing for survival, and Siga is playing for loyalty. And it's a really interesting, it's a really, really interesting dynamic. And within all of those tribes, right, you have people like Maria and Charlie, who I do think are playing really good strategic games, really good social games, but they haven't had much of an opportunity to do much. And even though they were in the minority, the fact they had the power yesterday had nothing to do with them and everything to do with Nami, because they were
Yeah.
self-imploding, because Nami wants to make television, because they want their time. I'm going to sit back and say that, Venus wanting to take Soda out, that was purely strategy that made sense, but it also was very much like, let me take out the person who's been bothering me the entire game. Like,
Yeah.
that is not some kind of like, oh my gosh, her mind moment. Last week, yes, oh my gosh, her mind, go for it. This week, I love you, Venus, but I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way for Tevin. This made no sense for you strategically. What you should have done is taken advantage of the fact that you knew that you and Maria, quote unquote, were going to be working together. So you should be separating Charlie. Charlie was the obvious vote for Tevin's game. And I don't understand. He was like, what if we went for Venus? Or what if we went one further? Because he's trying to make television and he was trying to get his time.
Yeah.
It made no sense from a game strategy position.
It's like it I'm thinking about like this like new archetype of like the enigma. Like Cameron in Big Brother 25 was like the enigma, and like I hate to compare. I'm not comparing Cameron and Venus as people, of course.
No, of course.
But like it's a phenomenon in these games, Beth, when like there is one person in the cast that like literally
what is in your
everybody.
Apartment? What is in your apartment? What just flew behind you?
Timmy just threw like a squirrel toy for Sora.
No. That did not fly like a normal thing. That went like this, and it looked like a bird swooping in and out. Like it went like this behind
Weird.
you. I swear to God, it looked like a bat or a bird. That just freaked me out. I was like, you need to stop recording. How did the fuck did you not know that there's a bird or a bat in your apartment right now?
Listen, because I'm just so like zoned in on this conversation.
It's so margaritaed out.
True, but like there's a new archetype emerging in like these modern reality TV shows. I'm telling you, it's called the enigma. Cameron is an enigma. Venus is an enigma, and it is when like literally everybody in the game like cannot move on with the betterment of like their own game until this person is gone, and like this person's just mere presence is just screwing like everybody's like, yeah, yes, exactly. It's weird to have like two very different enigmas in one season, but you're totally right, Beth. Like and it's like even Maria, who like we've been like yes queening like all season long, right? I don't think that she handled that approach with Venus very well at all.
I need somebody to. I think Maria was almost there. If Maria had said, "Can we walk and talk privately?" Because they were sitting there in front of Charlie, which was weird. If I had taken her off to the side and said, "Hey, can I tell you something like?" Somebody who has a few years on you, and I'm not sitting here trying to say that because I'm older, I'm right, but I just want you to understand, like, I don't know if this is how other people have told you in this game that how you come across. I want to tell you this not because I'm trying to yell at you or whatever, but I want to make you aware you are somebody that I am interested in working with or potentially hearing out so that we could come up with a plan, because I'm interested in making the best move for everybody's game, including my own. Mm-hmm. What I'm not interested in is feeling like this after I have a conversation. This is how you left me. And I want to have this moment with you one-on-one so that you know that I'm not trying to be manipulative or go running back to people and say, Venus is doing blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to hear this from me very truthfully now that I've had some time to decompress after our conversation. Why isn't anybody doing that? I don't understand. Everybody goes and has these conversations with her. And I'm going to take a step back and say, I think Venus is actually very strategic, but the point is she's not in on anything. So she does kind of come across as like she doesn't know what's happening in the game because nobody's talking to her, because she doesn't know how to talk to people. So I do want to say that those are points against her. And I don't think that she has the emotional intelligence right now to sit back and
Yeah.
understand how she comes across all the time. But that said, I think that she's also fully aware how she comes across and is unapologetic for it. And I want to say, yes, queen, go for it, because so many women are not like that in real life. And it's refreshing to see somebody who's like, you guys are fucking dumb. Why aren't we doing this? Like, I love that. She's perfect for reality TV. So yes, I will of course support her on that. But it is just really funny. I thought Maria of all people would be the person to do that, and instead she was like, "I just want to let you know that you came at me," and I'm like, "That's not how you have that conversation with Venus."
It
Sorry.
reminds me of like the Denise and Abby Maria dynamic, to be honest. And like that's like Denise's like one ding for me is like she really could not handle her properly. And like I understand that like in real life, like we support strong women, like speaking their mind and stuff like that. But like my like factor with that is like you are like not handling this person properly to get their jury vote in the end. And like that's like all I can think about with like the tone at which Maria was speaking to Venus with this episode.
And I also want to say it's not lost on me that both Abby, Maria, and I'm not saying that obviously Maria is also a woman of color, but like it's not lost on me that Abby, Maria, and Venus are two women of color who are young.
Yeah,
Um, and
totally.
and let's just be very blunt about this, that women of color, specifically black women, let's also put it out there that way, but women of color, the moment that they're more assertive or aggressive, get labeled as just aggressive. When if a guy was doing that, even though it would rub people the wrong way, we would be like, well, he's just being an assertive man. We're more likely to say the words assertive with guys than we are with women, where we jump
Yeah.
right to aggressive, especially if it's women of color. And so I'm not sitting here pretending like there haven't been moments where it's come across in a way that is distasteful for people wanting to work with them, or that she's not able to really uh, understand the tone. But I do think that Maria, Denise, these women who are strong themselves, just you see the wear and tear of the game on them. When you
Yeah.
have everything stripped from you and you have that one person who's fucking annoying in every sense of the game, that you can't stand living with them, you can't stand talking to them, you can't stand working with them strategically, can't stand working with them on a team in a challenge, you can't stand them, period. Yeah, you're starving, you miss home, you're trying to work through things, you're living outside, that's going to slip. And I think that that's something that we don't think about a lot when it comes to this game, especially in comparison to Big Brother. And I'm
Of
not sitting here
course.
pretting that Big Brother is a walk in the park. You're
No,
stuck in
but I know
a
what you
house,
mean though.
you
Like
know?
it's easy for us to like armchair like therapists be like, yeah, like, you should have handled this person better. But like I'm sure like in those elements with like that strong of a personality, like telling you what to do, like
If I'm on the subway and there's more people around me than I care to have, if somebody were like constantly like, by the way, Beth, you should be doing blah, 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 I would be like, after 15 minutes, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, and that's just me
see
being well fed, just going about my day in my normal life. Like,
that's where I feel like I would excel in one of these games is like I feel like I have like the most patience and like
you really
um
do.
groundedness in confrontation out of like literally anybody that I know. And
No,
I
I
feel like that
agree
would
with
work
that.
to my favor.
See, I think that in a game sense, I think that I'm very fire energy, right? I'm somebody
Yeah.
who provides warmth to people, and I think I invite people in. But that fire can get out of control if I'm overstimulated or overly emotional in any different kind of way. If I'm
Yeah.
overexcited, I could be a loud presence that annoys people. If I'm mad, I make it everybody's issue. Like, I'm aware of those kind of things. And those are the things that I think you do well in. But I also think that those are things that, like, I think I think both you and I are both good at speaking and talking and knowing how to relate to people.
Yes. I
And
agree with that.
so I think, but our approaches of how we handle adversity is going to be very different. And
Yeah.
like, I would be the one who's getting a lot of confessionals and being like, by the way, and blah, blah, And you would be the one that like they're like, and now let's cut to the Charlie of the season, which is Tyler, and say,
I already know I would be like edited like an Erica or like a Sophie or like somebody that's like under edited, because I'm not like, I wouldn't be flashy in confessionals, but like I would just have like an emotional intelligence about all of the people around me that I could navigate them.
If you were anybody this season, you're Charlie to me. You're somebody who's very smart and can read the room but is not in like the whole time in the episode last night where he was like, on the outside I'm calm, but on the inside I'm going, somebody stand up and talk to me and everything. I was like, that is Tyler.
That's literally me.
I was literally like, Charlie is the epitome of Tyler, somebody who's incredibly likable and grounded, Swifty and everything, right? And then I'm trying to figure out who I am on this season. I feel like I could probably be maybe like a Tiffany. I don't know. I think
I could see you more as a Tiffany for sure.
I could see myself as a Tiffany, but I also think that I don't think that I am that strong with people. Like when Bonnie was on his knees, I don't think I would have been like, get off your knees or whatever. I think I would have been, maybe I am more of a Kenzie then. I don't know. But I don't know. Sound off in the chat who you think I am this, because I think it's so clear that Tyler's a Charlie. But anyway,
we have a question from Thomas before we show our draft and hop out of here. Thomas says, what do you think Survivor 50 will be? I think they're gonna like Jeff has been very clear, like no returnees through this, no like through the modern era, whatever. I feel like 50 will be returnees from 41 up.
I think that he said, okay, so this hasn't been public, but when I went to the Survivor showing, somebody asked, would you ever have old school versus new era Survivor as a theme? And he was like, there you go, there's a theme. Because he's admitted now multiple times, the reason why we don't have themes anymore is because they just run out of ideas, and ideas that would work throughout the entirety of the season. Because one thing I respect about Survivor in comparison to something like Big Brother is that they actually stick with their effing themes, even if it's not working. Big Brother's like, this isn't working in week 2, so therefore just the whole season's up in flames. Right? You know,
that's so true.
And Jeff has been like, there have been things that like, yeah, I thought that Ghost Island would be such a cool idea. It flopped, whatever.
I did too. I was so hyped for that theme, and then it fucking sucked.
And you know what? I want to give him props, because I don't think a lot of executive producers are out here pretending like their shit don't stink. And I will say, like, there are things that upset me about Jeff Probst, but there's a lot that I really appreciate about him.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I do think you tried, like nobody cared though.
You tried, and respectfully, it was a flop, sir. But what I liked is that in that moment, he was like, I would love that. I think that'd be great. Are there any players in here who would do that? And of course, I had Josh Canfield and Eliza Orleans behind me. They're like, we do it in a heartbeat. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, they want their television. I hear you. But I do genuinely think that there is this old school Survivor mentality of the new game is way easier, and I want to show them how easy it is because I could win it with ease. I would love that. And so I do think Survivor 50 will be old school versus new school. That's what I think the new season will be. And I think it could be second chances. So I don't think that they're going to bring back Parvati and Sandra and those kind of people. I don't even think they're going to bring back Kelly Wentworth and people who have played a few times. I think that they're going to go for who are people who deserve second chances, that are
from the modern era and from pre-40.
Yes. So
like two tribes.
I think it'll be 2 tribes. I think that they will listen and say, okay, we did the 3-tribe format, or they will have one tribe that's all new era, one tribe that's old school, and one blended tribe for the 3, which I think could be really fascinating too. And just see, like, how does that work out? You know, if that middle tribe that has both goes to tribal council a couple of times, does it become old school versus new school? How does that affect the other 2 tribes?
That middle tribe be though?
I don't know. I don't even think it has to be old school versus new school. I think that it could literally be second chances, blended schools, essentially. Like, because I think the whole idea is like, we're bringing you back for a second chance, but it's new era rules, people. So let's get down to it. So you thought you could play this game no problem? I would love to see someone like Josh Canfield, who I thought did really. Josh was one of the few people I really loved in San Juan del Sur. And I think that Reed, who was his blood versus water person, I know they're not together anymore, but like both of them were very strategic. And I think Josh played a game that was quietly strategic in comparison to Reed, who was very boisterous about his strategy and his dislike of people and such. I think that Josh would do very well in the new season, in the new era. And then there's people who I think would just be like people. I would love Natalie Bolton to come back from Micronesia. Are we kidding? One of the Black Widows like coming back, and like that would be incredible. Like I think that there are people who we could absolutely see come back and just absolutely crush it in the new season, or at the very least be like, just give us life for a few episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
We should brand steal this.
Thank you. Yes. Could we draft it? We draft it first. Like you and I go back and forth and we choose like I choose a guy, you choose a guy. I choose a girl, you choose a girl. But it has to be like I choose a guy from the old era, you choose a guy from the old era. I choose a girl from the old era, you choose a girl. We do it like that. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Fuck it. Let's do it right now. Extended podcast.
Okay, so Chelsea Meisner. All right, let me show. Right. Yes, underrated finalist. Okay, let me share the updated draft, and then we'll skedaddle on out of here. So I lost my first person, my first drafted person.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I lost him.
Randon is gone.
Huh?
You said I lost my first person. Randon is also gone from your draft. You lost your second person.
No, my first drafted person. Sorry. Tim was my first pick in the draft, and he unfortunately had a flop game, so he had to go. And Allison has lost her fourth person, so Allison's team is just down to confessional queen Liz and Q.
I love today. Kirsten McKinnis tweeted, "If Liz is so rich, I would love for her to just give me some of her money." I love that it had like really nothing to do with Survivor. She was like, "If she's just so rich, I wish she would just like give me some of her money." I was like, "Oh, wouldn't that be great if she just like became the Sia and just gave money out, but instead of like to players, it went to like her favorite podcast or something like or network or whatever." And like obviously it would go to RHAP or whatever. But we were
Liz feels like she feels like the most purple contestant we've had since like JP in Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers.
Oh my God. No, I think she has way more agency than JP.
You think so?
Yes. I don't think that she's like the most incredible person on the team or anything like that or on the cast, but JP was so nothing, and at least Liz is giving us something.
What is she giving us exactly?
She gives us like the fact that the first few episodes she's like okay, JP, was there ever a moment that you remember anything other than the one time that like he gave a non-answer and Jeff said I think he turned to somebody else. It was JP gives an interesting answer, and that he said nothing. That's the only thing I remember about JP. I remember
he dropped his pants to show that he didn't have the idol.
I don't remember that at all. Of course, I mean, I also have recency bias, at least with Liz, because she's literally on her TV now. But like, Liz will forever go down in history as like the woman who was like allergic to everything and just still went on Survivor and somehow inexplicably is still alive. I don't get it. And then she's also like, also immediately came out and was like, by the way, I'm a multi-millionaire and I don't need the money. Like, so many, like how many things do you not do to play the game?
You know that Randon has had 4 more confessionals this season than Liz?
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, when he got his confessionals, they were all in the same episode essentially, and it was when he was leaving and stuff was about him.
You're right.
I think that Liz, I mean, I'm going to say it too. I think Liz and Ben also have edits where they could go like be the 5th place person. I think that one of them is going to be the people who goes and is the first person out in the finale. And I think it's going to be Liz.
Not landing with Ben for me. I'm telling you right now.
Can I just say this though?
Say it.
Ben has the most intense, beautiful eyes and eyelashes, and God bless the camera people in HD television, because even though I'm not the largest fan of his gameplay, and I think I connect with him as somebody who, like, when he said last night, people like me as a dancing monkey, but not necessarily like someone to open up with. There are very few people who I've been able to truly open up with, you and Allison being two of them. And I feel very similar to him in that capacity. So I kind of felt for him. Last night was the first night I felt really connected with him between the panic attacks and that comment. But I agree. There's just something I'm not getting that I don't click with him, but I do very much click with those eyes.
Just something about it.
Liz, I think, is somebody that I bet if I met her in real life, I would have such a ball with her. But like, she is also simultaneously somebody that I watch and I'm like annoyed with on television.
Yeah.
I watch her and I'm like, no. And then in real life, I'd probably be like, Queen!
Yeah. Like, we'll say hi to her at the RJP events, but like, not my favorite.
I'll do a shot with her. Let's go.
Yeah, of course.
Ben's biblically accurate eyes. That's what Rory said.
Rory always coming in
also,
with the comment.
I also need to just give a shout out a while ago after I sneezed. I have to give a shout out to Kylan, who said, "Mama, kudos for you for sneezing, Beth." That is a reference. That is a reference to the season of Drag Race. We have a queen called Plain Jane, and she is like capital C, see you next Tuesday on the show, in terms of like, she is a straight up bitch to people. Yeah. And I like you, Tyler. Tyler, you need to watch her. You need to watch her. You will be obsessed. But she backs it up with talent. She's in the top 3. She's in the finale, and she's beautiful. But the best part is they had this moment where one of the contestants was sharing something deep, and she literally went, "Mama, kudos for you for spilling."
Just so like unemotional,
Mama. And she said it like this, like, you know, because they always have to do this. Like, the producers always go up to them and go like, "Hey, Beth, go talk to Tyler while you guys are putting on makeup and half makeup and look insane. Like, go talk to Tyler about his dead dad, you know, and how he hated you for being gay or whatever." And be like, "So Tyler, tell me about your dad." It's like, "Mama, thank you for sharing, for spilling." Like, that's what she did. It was so fucking funny.
I'll do what you ask, but I'll be petty about it. I love it.
So she went up and like, this person just spills their entire heart and everything, and her reaction is just basically monotone, like, "Mama, thank you for spilling, or for spilling. Kudos."
It's giving like Alaska vibes from my very limited
Tyler
Drag Race knowledge.
I can't wait. I'm going to be sharing you some clips with you. You're going to fucking love. You're going to eat it up.
All right. Well, I have 4 margaritas in me, so I really have to go pee. So we're going to wrap it up. But
wrap it up like a condom.
Yes. So we'll be back next week. I don't think we're doing a Challenge All Stars 4 recap, but it's up to a rough
start. I know I'm not.
It's good.
Is it good?
It's really good. Cool. It's really good. It's different than like the shit that we made you watch. Like, it's not the mainstream challenge. It's like the good cast members like being messy and stuff. So it's good.
I don't even remember. It was like Double Agents or something that I watched.
Yeah. I'm so sorry we put you through that. That's my number one regret on this podcast, is putting Beth through an entire fucking season of Double Agents. But yeah, so regardless, we'll be back next week for episode 8 of Survivor 46. Hey, if you like what you saw and listened to tonight, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/myweeklymeltdown, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you feel so obliged, give us a 5-star review, please. Write us a comment, please. I haven't checked the reviews in a while, but for the people that have already done it, we love you, baby.
You know, you
Beth,
love me,
anything
baby.
else?
That's why you brought me here.
Yes.
No, I think you nailed it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into us being ridiculous as always, and we appreciate it.
Yes. All right. Love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.